the gear you really need as a beginner violinist. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a violinist and teacher. I've been playing the violin for over 20 years, actually over 25 years. I have my bachelor's and master's degrees in violin performance, and I'm Suzuki trained. If you're enjoying my videos, please take a quick second to make sure you're subscribed to my channel. It's easy, free, one little button, and it really helps me out. And if you're looking for more structure and support along your violin journey, check out my online community, Learn Violin Online. As a member, you unlock one seamless path to violin mastery that has hundreds of hours of video tutorials, access to our supportive community so that you're never alone, and unlimited feedback from me. This means all of your questions will be answered, you'll never have to wonder if you're doing it right, and you'll always know what to do to progress. Link is in the description. Check it out. There's so many violin accessories out there nowadays, and it can be hard to know what you actually need, especially if you're just starting on your violin journey. So in this video, I'm going to give you what you absolutely need to have, plus fun extras that you can get if you want. So first up, it might seem obvious, but you need to have a violin. If at all possible, I do not recommend buying a violin from Amazon. I know it's tempting, it's cheap, and it's convenient, but the Amazon violins are what we in the community call VSOs, violin-shaped objects, because they're not actual instruments. They don't sound very good. They're usually not even like set up when you get them, so you have to do that yourself, which can be really confusing and overwhelming. They're hard to tune, which can be super frustrating, especially as a beginner. And they're just overall not good quality. I personally recommend getting a violin outfit from Fiddler Shop, and I'll leave my top recommendations linked in the description. If possible, I generally suggest for beginners to rent an instrument before buying. Renting is generally much more affordable than buying. You can expect to pay around $25 to $40 per month, but you can definitely get better deals than that. Back in Jersey, there was one shop that I think did like $110 for like 7 months or something like that. So in general, you can find really good deals. Additionally, a lot of places have a rent-to-own program where a portion or all of your rental fees will go towards the purchase of an instrument if you so choose. Another way to get the best bang for your buck, which we all need in this economy, right? So renting is generally more affordable, and also as a beginner, you're not always 100% certain that you are going to stick with it. Playing the violin is a commitment, and you have to practice, and sometimes we have the best of intentions and they just don't end up working out, which is totally fine. Life happens. But if you've already spent all this money on an instrument, that can hurt. So rent when you can, if not, buy from Fiddler Shop. I believe they ship worldwide, and they have excellent customer service. Second up, you need a bow. If you purchase a violin outfit, that will often come with the violin bow and the case, so you don't have to worry about purchasing any of that separately. However, if you just have a violin by itself and you need to get a bow, there are two basic types, wood and carbon fiber. Carbon fiber bows are generally a little bit cheaper, although they do have some very expensive models on the market nowadays. And they're also a bit more durable. Wood bows are a little bit more expensive generally. They are a little bit more susceptible to the environment, right? It's wood, it expands and contracts. It's a little bit easier to break the tip as well. But in my personal opinion, wood bows do have, in general, a better sound. Like I said, there are some super high quality carbon fiber bows, but on the cheaper end, I feel like wood sounds better than the cheaper carbon fiber. So now that you have your violin and bow, you definitely need a case. Now you might be saying, well, Megan, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to play at my house. You still need a case. Listen, you never know what the future will bring. Maybe you're going to join a band one day, or maybe you're going to find a local friend to play with, and you'll need a way to transport your instrument. Even if you're not going anywhere, you need some place to keep your instrument that's safe. I know some students like wall hooks, which I think can be great. The kind of thought process is like, oh, if I see my violin, if it's out, I'm more likely to practice, which I get. But just be careful, it can be easy to like run into the instrument, maybe have an animal playing with it. So yeah, you definitely need a case even if you're not planning on going anywhere. The next thing that you absolutely need is rosin. So rosin is essentially hardened tree sap that you rub against your bow hairs that allow the bow to make a sound. If your bow is sliding all over the place, if you're not hearing a clear sound, you definitely need some rosin. I personally use leatherwood rosin and I really like it. However, it is a bit more on the expensive side. Recently, I've been very impressed with jade rosin. I've had a few students switch over to that. It's pretty cheap, I think maybe like $10, and I feel like the sound quality is amazing. And it's also hypoallergenic, so you don't have to worry about allergies. Just whatever you do, don't lick the rosin, okay? Rosin is a must. Another must are strings. Now, obviously, when you purchase or rent an instrument, it's going to come with strings on it, but you need to change them, I would say at least once a year. A lot of times, if you go to a shop and purchase the strings there, they will just change them for you. However, if you purchase them online and want to try to change them yourself, I'll leave a tutorial linked in the description where I teach you how to do that. The biggest tip is don't take off all the strings at once, okay? That equals disaster. Always change them one at a time. I'll also leave another video linked where I give you my string recommendations. In short, for beginners, I generally recommend dominants. Now, this next one is a necessity depending on where you live. If you live in an apartment, if you live with someone who prefers not to hear your violin playing, then you definitely need a practice mute. So this is a practice mute. This is what it looks like. I got mine on Amazon for I want to say like $12, but it could have been $21, something like that. So it's not super expensive. And basically you just put it on top of the mute, or on top of the bridge here, and it really mutes your sound. So it still allows you to practice without annoying anyone else. Now, I will say it's not ideal to practice with the practice mute all of the time because obviously it affects your sound and it actually affects your intonation as well. But listen, I get it. We gotta do what we gotta do. I currently live in an apartment and I have to use the practice mute. It's just what we gotta do, you know? Better to practice with it and no practice at all. The next thing that you need is a shoulder rest. Now, there are definitely differences of opinion on this, and I don't think that playing with a shoulder rest is absolutely 100% necessary. There are definitely people who can play without it, but for beginners, I always suggest at least trying it out first. What a shoulder rest does is essentially take up the space between your body and the violin. And having the shoulder rest there prevents you from doing weird things to hold the violin. So it prevents you from doing that, it prevents you from doing that, and just helps you stay overall more relaxed, which is always the goal. To be honest, I have no idea what shoulder rest that I'm using right now. I'm pretty sure that it came with one of the beginner violins that I've tried, but I recommend the Fiddlerman shoulder rest, which I'll leave linked below. The next thing that you absolutely need is a tuner. So there are a lot of free tuning apps and websites. And there's also a little, I believe it's a D'Addario tuner that like clips onto your instrument. That's pretty affordable. The one that I personally use is the Korg. So I have the Korg TM40, which dates me a little bit because their most recent model, I believe, is the TM70. But it's a tuner and metronome combo. Obviously, you need a tuner to tune your instrument, right? But it's also helpful for like intonation work as well. And you absolutely need a metronome too. Again, there are free metronome apps. Even if you just Google metronome, one will come up. Although I have found that it's not 100% reliable. But yeah, tuner and metronome, absolute must. The next thing that you probably should have but don't necessarily need is a music stand. Generally, it's recommended to stand while you are practicing so that you have the best posture possible. It's definitely possible to practice sitting down, but it's much easier for the posture to slip. And you want to be looking at your music at eye level. So that's why it's helpful to have a music stand so it can raise your music can be at eye level, and that will help you maintain your posture. You can obviously use like a mantle or a piano or something. It's not 100% need, but it is definitely very helpful to have. There are a lot of like cheap folding stands, but I personally recommend just springing for the Manhasset, especially if you're not like traveling around, you're not going to rehearsals or anything. Because the folding stands, they are so flimsy and they also don't have like a back to them. So like when you try to write on your music, a pencil just like goes to the music and it's just like, no, we don't need that in our lives. So I really like the Manhasset stand. I'll leave a link below. I actually remember getting it for Christmas when I was like 12. And I also have like a wooden stand that you might have seen in some of my videos. That is from Mr. Standman. It was a custom stand. My mom got it for me, and I believe it was about like $350. So if you're interested. The next thing that you don't 100% need but can be super helpful is a learning program. It can be really hard and confusing to teach yourself because where the heck do you even start? Having a structured plan to follow is going to get you better results in a smaller amount of time. It's going to make sure that the precious time you do have is being used effectively. And it really does make all the difference, especially if you're very passionate about learning. If you want a plan that's super affordable and flexible and comes with unlimited feedback from me, check out Learn Violin Online. The next thing that you probably need is music. And there's a lot of free sites that you can find it on. So imslp.org is a really good one. It has all of like not all of, but a lot of classical music, all of the music that you can get that's not under copyright. And then MuseScore is also another good one. They have a lot of popular songs. And then of course, if you're going through an online learning program like Learn Violin Online, the music will all be provided for you. And if you're working with a teacher, they'll tell you what music to get. But yeah, we definitely need music. Something else you could consider getting as a beginner are tapes. I think there's definitely pros and cons to using tapes, and if you're more interested in that topic and deciding whether you should use them or not, I'll leave another video linked for you. But basically, it's personal preference. If you feel really strongly that you don't want to rely on a crutch and learn without the tapes, then you don't need them. If you feel like you just want to learn where the pitches are and how they sound from the beginning, then you can use tapes. However, I would definitely not recommend that big sticker, you know what I'm saying, that goes all the way down. Just get individual tapes because that thing ain't accurate. I'll leave recommendations for tapes in the below. Well, that's going to be long. There's going to be a lot of recommendations there, so make sure you go check it out. Something that I definitely do, well, two things I definitely do not recommend getting are the thing that you put here, the bridge, the bow guider, I guess. But you put it here and then you're supposed to like bow inside it to help you learn to bow straight. You don't need that. Just learn to bow straight. It's a struggle for everyone at the beginning, but that is a definite no. I'm also not a huge fan of like the bow buddy grip things. I mean, I guess they can be helpful. More so for children, in my opinion. If you're really struggling, maybe it's something you could consider. But yeah, for me personally, I don't think you need those. So to sum up, things you absolutely need: violin, bow, case, tuner, shoulder rest. Things that you might need but are good to have: mute, stand, tapes, music. Things that you really don't need: that bow guider, the thing on the bow, the bow hold helper. Yeah, that's basically it. Let me know, did I miss anything? What is your number one piece of violin gear? What can't you live without? Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure you subscribe before you go.